we all know the name Crisco. There's a new cheer which ends by saying, Crisco! And that cheer is, give me an F!
F!
Give me an O!
O!
Give me an R!
R!
Give me a G!
G!
Give me an E!
E!
Give me an R!
R!
What's that spell?
Crisco!
What's that spell?
Crisco!
What's that spell?
Crisco!
And that's how you spell Crisco. F-O-R-G-E-R.
Who are committed to the good of the population of the country. And we're failing that test. We're electing men like Joe Crisco. He's been 8 times reelected in this district.
And got reelected after he committed forgery last year.
Reelected after he committed forgery. Instead of being arrogant, they ought to be ashamed. I kind of blame Bill Clinton on this. I think that was the start of saying, rather than be ashamed, I'll gut it out. I'll just say, move on. It's in the past. Move on. We can't move. Well, I want to move on, but I want to leave these guys behind when we move on in any case. Hey, let me invite Jim Bancroft, my good friend, up to say a couple of words about the specifics of Crisco or whatever else he wants to say.
Thank you, Wallace. Some of you may have recognized me. I'm one of the co-organizers of the Hartford Tea Party on April 15th. And if you were there, thank you very much, because the reasons why these things are successful is because you guys showed up and let everybody know you were angry. So give yourself a hand on that. Abe Lincoln once said, I'm sorry I wrote you such a long letter. I did not have the time to write a shorter one. Basically, that means he didn't study enough what he wanted to write, so he ended up saying too much, and I'm afraid I'm going to be like that myself today. Earlier, some words were said about Joe Crisco, which pretty much nailed all the facts right out. But as I've been reading this, it's just amazing what this guy has gotten away with. I don't care that he was just fine. Joe Crisco should have been sent to jail. Joe Crisco had, this is according to a Hartford Courant article, allowed the secretary of his campaign treasurer to sign the treasurer's name to an affidavit, promising to abide by the rules of the new system. Somebody forged a signature saying you were going to obey the law. You gotta be kidding me. Second, his treasurer, who has now since resigned, was out of state. I thought it was acceptable, said the clueless Mr. Crisco, of his decision to let the secretary sign the treasurer's name in his presence. Well, why did the treasurer resign? If it was his boss that did something wrong, why did the treasurer resign? Do you think maybe the treasurer had an ounce of reality? He had a conscience? Or is this just not the first time Mr. Crisco has done something like this? How do we know? We now know this man forged his own wife's signature as saying she was a part of the Campaign Finance Committee, as a part of the Treasury. Forged his own wife's name. How many of you here would put your wife in jeopardy of going to trial and being arrested just so you can get elected as a senator? I don't see any hands up. Of all you women here, what would you do to your husband who forged your name and put you in a chance of getting arrested just so he can stand up there and have patois at some dinner with some other famous Democrat? You divorce the guy in a heartbeat and you know it. But these are the kind of people that are in office today. It's just a horrible thing. I don't want to say way too much. There's a lot of details on this. I recommend you go to Sean's site. Could you recite that website address?
Yes, www.ctresistance.com. We have a link up so you can go to the state elections page, which is a government page, and get the same information that Jim has been reading from. And this is what the problem is this is actually available for public viewing. There's no, we didn't make anything up, we didn't exaggerate anything. We're reading what he signed. We think he signed his own name. Maybe he signed his lawyer's name on this one. But he is signed and admitted that he committed these things.
The insanity of this man doing it. There was no reason for it. It's very hard to understand why he just didn't get a treasurer that would agree to be his treasurer. And it's not that difficult. It seems like there's two things. One is complete indifference to honesty and truthfulness. It made no difference. It wasn't worth the effort for him to do it. It was just as easy to lie. And the second thing is some kind of personal confusion. I think we need a group called Politicians Anonymous. Because I think these people are having breakdowns. I think Joe Crisco had some kind of a breakdown over this stuff. And he's inviting us to speculate about this by not answering the question of what went on. Just as Sean said, did he sign those checks? Did he forge his treasurer's name on the checks? I don't know, but if I were betting, I would bet he did. And I would bet that the bank said, well, the money was there, nobody was cheated, we're not going to embarrass him, et cetera, and let it go. But until somebody investigates, or until Crisco comes out and explains what went on, nobody knows, and we have nothing but speculation. If he can't handle his situation personally, Tom Gaffey, the same thing. Gaffey says he double charged the state for expenditures, went into his pocket. They caught him. He paid a fine. He apologized. 2 years later, 3 years later, he double charges the state for expenditures. He pays a fine. He apologizes. Gee, I didn't mean to do it. But you know, it's so hard to be a state senator. It's tough to keep on top of all these things. Well, if you're in a job and you can't stay on top of it, then you should leave your job. It's not like there's something. Nobody else would put up with that. Nobody in the private sector would put up with a guy saying, you've got to forgive me because the job is too tough for me. But that's what they're saying. We've got to get rid of these questions that these people need to go. But my hope is that down the road we will have good candidates to take their place. In the meantime, though, I would say to keep our spirits up, we have some lighter notions, and one is in the spirit of helpfulness, we would like to show. It's not easy to get one of these on. They tell me. I haven't tried it myself, but Sean, for the benefit of Crisco, will show us how to get into one of these orange jumpsuits.
You guys got a good view?
It's going to have his name on it.
Due to budget cuts, because the Democrats can't get spending under control, this was the largest one we could get, and due to the fact that I'm just, I guess, a brain-dead conservative, I may need some help getting this on. Now, this is where it gets tough, because it's a one-piecer. I don't know how you ladies do these, but I'm going to need some assistance getting this up. You got to do this.
Their husbands help.
There we go. Obviously, it fits the part. The other thing we want to make sure Senator Crisco knows, got the nice Department of Corrections. Didn't have time to practice the perp law.
Letter which Sean has already signed.
I have markers.
In the name of Joe Crisco, let me be the second here, Sean.
Sure.
Joe, you know, I'm upset about this guy. This guy bugs me especially on two grounds. He has the same first name as me, which I'm attached to, and he has the same hairline as me. I've been saying how I don't trust these guys with big hair like Dodd and Kerry and Edwards. But Crisco, he has what should be a trustworthy hairline.
Edwards does have pretty hair.
Expensive hair. We're going to read the letter out loud. Public outrage over my forgery spree has convinced me that I can no longer remain in the state Senate. My fellow Democrats cannot defend my criminal behavior, nor will the Senate tolerate a further lowering of its already abysmal ethical standards. Hence, I hereby resign my seat in the state Senate, effective immediately. State Senator Joe the Forger Crisco.
Yeah! Come on up and put Joe's signature on it for us.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have another special guest. We have one of Senator Crisco's constituents who would like to call up and ask for his resignation. Now, we know your name is Joe Crisco, but can you tell us what your alias is?
My alias is Charles Lubin. I live right here in Woodbridge, just up the street.
Now, Charles, what do you think about the fact that your state senator is a forger? How does that make you feel?
I'm disgusted by it.
Do you think that Joe the Forger Crisco should still be a state senator?
Absolutely not.
Do you think he should resign immediately?
Absolutely.
All right!